Welcome to RoofTalk, a production of the National Roofing Contractors Association. I am your host, Crystal Ribble, and this podcast is produced by Told You So Media. Today, we are going to have a conversation about career and technical education, specifically the programs surrounding those that can help the future of our industry when it comes to a workforce. So today, I am joined by Rebecca Eller-Molitas, who's the Director of CTE Engagement at NRCA, Tim Stevens, Vice President at Architectural Sheet Metal, and Sherri Miles, President of Miles Roofing. Thanks for joining me. So let's start talking about one of the biggest things that our industry faces, which is obviously needing a workforce. So talk a little bit about the challenges that we have in the roofing industry with that and how we gain people to work in our industry.
I mean, workforce has always been a challenge. It's been a challenge forever. I think it got brought up in the last board meeting. Someone was looking back at notes because it's a long-standing association and issues that were brought up by contractors back in like the early 1900s, and workforce was one of them, right? And the challenge is because this is a tough job. This isn't something that everybody can do. And then also just in general, the trades, especially over the last, a long time, have kind of fallen out of favor. You're starting to see a little bit of incline in that where it's coming back, but just the reputation of the industry as a whole. So unless you really knew somebody or somehow somebody at a certain point like led you to it, nobody's really seeking this out as a career. So we have to do it takes quite the effort to go out and reach out to people to attract them to this business.
Yeah, absolutely. And thankfully, one of the answers to that has been these career and technical education programs that are now introducing our trade to more students. So what are some of the biggest challenges that we can have in connecting with these CTE schools?
I think that one of the biggest challenges I've seen is that educators and administrators really need our help to tell the story of roofing as a career rather than just a job. They aren't always aware that this is a big ecosystem and it has a lot of great jobs in it. It can provide a family sustaining wage. I was recently talking with an educator who had started to advertise her new roofing program, and she said that when she went to make the first flyer, the only thing that she knew to put on the flyer was a man with a hard hat and a hammer. And as they've been teaching the program through the semester, she's learned that there's so much more to roofing. And she believes it would help if we as an industry would push the story of roofing as a career out to parents and students so that they know there's a whole world here.
Yeah, we're very underrepresented in schools. So, when you go into some of these trade schools, you talk to the teachers, they're typically, they were a former framer or, an electrician or an HVAC guy. There's not a whole lot that were roofers. And so those guys tend to lead students in that direction and lean that way. There also hasn't been a long history of curriculum available to those schools, which that's been corrected over the last 5-6 years now from NRCA. So now it's just a matter of starting that outreach to the schools to make them aware of what we have to offer. We're taking a lot of big steps that way, but it's definitely going to be an uphill climb.
Sure. And that was going to be one of my questions is like, what are these educators looking from us for us to partner with them? And so much of it is the resources of what to teach, right? Like, what do these students need to know? So that's one way in which we can engage in those classrooms, correct?
Yeah. If as a contractor, if you're expecting a school to teach the students how to roof, that's just a false hope. We as contractors are the ones, especially initially, that are going to have to step in and start teaching these kids, and in the process, the instructors learn. I've got a trade school that I've worked with now for about 3 years through Skills. The teacher was asking me, he's like, okay, I think I've seen this enough now that I can do a lot more training, so I don't have to be there all the time. Like, he can step in and do it, but until he's seen it, he didn't know anything about it. And so it's just a matter of that process of the contractors getting involved with the schools, building that relationship, and these teachers will pick up on what we're doing. Plus, then they get exposed to the available curriculums that are out there, and it'll make a lot more sense to them, and so they can picture it a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
Um,
sometimes, oh, go ahead, Rebecca.
oh
What were you
no,
going to
I
say?
was just thinking on the administrator side of that also, the way that the program is funded and accredited really impacts what the requirements look like on their side. So sometimes they need our patience with the process, and they're going to ask a lot of questions that don't necessarily seem like the first things we would ask coming from a business perspective. They are sometimes evaluated on how many of their graduates are employed after graduation, how much money they're making. So they ask a lot of questions about that type of thing. And I come from a background in education, so I'm always available to talk with members who are thinking about engaging with an education program, and they kind of want to prepare for what kind of questions might come up. We also love to hear from people who are already working with education, because the successes and challenges they've had, it really helps for us to share those out more widely and promote the efforts that are already happening.
Sure. So, for the contractors that are hesitant to do something like this, to engage with a CTE school, maybe because there's some misconceptions of things that have happened, what are some of those misconceptions, and why do we think that contractors may be hesitant? Can we speak to that a little bit?
Well, so every state is different, but then every business is different. I mean, people naturally are scared of change, so it's a departure from your typical recruiting effort to go in and go to a school, spend time, meet a teacher, spend time teaching students, knowing that, hey, you might have 30 students in a class, maybe there's only one or two of them that you would even be interested in hiring, and committing that time and resource to it. But it's not an easy fix. But if you can go put the effort and reach out to the schools, I've worked with them in 2 states, in Georgia and Florida. They have a curriculum that they have to get through, but other than that, they're pretty wide open, and they're been very welcoming to industry coming in. And so they love to see that, because they know not everybody's built to be a carpenter, and so they want to see those different options. And it's just a matter of showing up and making some commitments and sticking with them, and that goes a long way. So for the one, if they're willing to do it, they're like I said, the resources are available. Every state is going to be a little bit different, but it's just a matter of making the commitment to put in the effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so and just to kind of put a pin on the roofing curriculum integrated into these schools. Again, every state is different, every school is a little bit different, but we now have resources that we are able to give those CTE schools, correct? That they can start teaching roofing.
Yeah, we have the full NCCER curriculum that's available, that speaks more the language of education in that world. And then internally with NRCA, we have track and stuff that can be offered, so that every school that wants to use it, they can get that for free and use that curriculum, which is online, copied with some hands-on stuff. And then now they've released videos to tie in with that all of the teachers and schools can tap into, that just show them really quickly how to very easily set up simple mock-ups to practice some of the different items with it.
Press play on safety. NRCA's Health and Safety Library is packed with the industry's greatest hits. From fall protection to hazard awareness, these chart-topping resources help keep your crew safe and your job site compliant. With tools like the NRCA Safety Manual 3rd Edition, NRCA Pocket Guide to Safety, and NRCA Toolbox Talks, you'll set the tone for safer crews every day. Explore the full library at nrca.net/shop/safety.
So let's talk about now, if a contractor is listening to this and they want to get involved with a CTE school and they want to start figuring out how they themselves not only can benefit from gaining a workforce like that, but they want to give back in that way. What
Mhm,
are the first steps that a contractor should go through if they're interested in getting involved?
mhm. I'll take that. Really work in your backyard. Go find a school, the CTE school that's closest to you. It's probably going to be where the kids of your current workers go, if they go to CTE schools, and it's going to be the easiest lift. One of the ways I found the most success is getting on the board of a local school, a local board of their CTE. That they had a general advisory board. And that way I was able to um, understand who the players were and are, and how I could best get into the classroom. Because that's where you really want to be, is in the classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just utilized Skills. So it was schools
Mhm.
that were interested in Skills USA and participated in other contests, and they were interested in roofing but didn't know anything about it, and connected with the state director, so with those schools, and then reached out and talked to them. And my pitch is I go in and I say, hey, just let me kind of talk about the industry to your students and give like a little pitch. I have a little PowerPoint. I go in, and I mean, they've always been um, happy to oblige that for a day. It's one less day they have to teach. And I go in and talk to their class, and I go through just, hey, this is what's the jobs that are available. This is what roofing really is, because most of them have no idea. Like you were saying with the one lady, she thinks of a person with a hard hat and a hammer. Most people think of shingles, and then show them some real projects that are, real buildings, airports and hotels and stadiums and that kind of stuff. And then do a little hands-on exercise. We let them weld some TPO, and then just say, hey, look, I'm looking for some kids that want to participate and maybe compete. And there's a handful that do, and then you just start working with them. And through that, you get exposed to the teacher and to the rest of the students. And over the long term, that's when you'll get to see that, the teachers now start to realize, hey, this guy's serious. He's following through on his commitments. This looks like a legitimate business here. These are people that are looking to hire. Okay, I can start sending some of my better students that direction and pointing them that direction.
Sure. And since you mentioned skills, let's talk about that for a little bit, because I think helping people understand it, if you're listening to this podcast and you're not totally sure what Skills USA is, you can engage both at the high school level and at the CTE school at continuing education level. And a lot of times, all the stories that I've heard with Skills USA, when a contractor has gotten involved at the high school level, some of these kids are taking a class that's like an overall trades focused class, and they may only know about plumbing, or they may only know about being an electrician or something, but then they have a roofer come in and start explaining things, and they're like, wait a second, I'd never even thought about that. And then it changes the trajectory of things. So speak a little bit to Skills USA and the impact that we've seen that have on the roofing industry as well.
Yeah, so most of the classes, whether it's high school or even in the trade schools, are usually like a general construction or a carpentry class typically. And so they have a curriculum where they got to touch on very specific things, and then it's kind of open after that. So yes, when we come in and we start showing them roofing, especially flat roofing, most of them have never seen anything like it, or even the teachers haven't seen it. So it's pretty, it's nice to be able to do that and expand it. And you've got to think, especially when in high school, kids might just be taking this class because they thought it was an easy class, and they might have other plans. When you get to the trade schools, these are kids that are looking into the trades as a career path, because they're going they're paying for college to go and do this. So at this point, you're talking about kids that probably just need some mentorship, somebody that can take them and show them that, hey, yeah, there is a career here, because we've all done it. We've been through that path, and that opens up a lot of opportunities where they're a lot more open to the possibility of participating or joining. And the nice thing is then you're looking at maybe 5 kids. Well, maybe you only want 2 of them, but they all are interested in the job. So now you kind of flip the script of being desperate for people to where you're like, okay, I'm going to be a little bit choosy here, and then they're trying to prove themselves to you. So it's beneficial that way to open their eyes for them to see the possibility, and then to see that want to participate grow over time.
Sure.
I think
Sherri,
a couple different things there. Tim, you do such a great job of making it seem so elite, right? Only if you can make it can you come work for here,
Right.
come work with us. And I think that does, that elevates the game. It makes roofing aspirational than rather than just something that you do because you don't do anything else, can't do anything else. And that's the way we've been perceived for so long, even when we talk about ourselves. We're changing the narrative. We're there at day one as a choice that kids get to make, and that the teachers help them make, about what they want to do. Right, the teachers have a great deal of influence over these kids, and so if you can put them, have the teachers understand that roofing is a career, not just a job, then they will help you get the best students into roofing. And so we all have to speak differently about roofing in the high school, middle school, even down it, from we say from cradle to grave. When we talk about it differently, we get the best students. We
And
do.
the one thing going back to skills is bragging rights for these schools. So
Mhm.
when they're able to go and have so many kids participate and send kids to nationals, and then see a student medal at the national contest, for that school to come back, and they're like, that's marketing for them to attract other students. To say they've got these programs and be like, oh yeah, we sent 8 kids to national competition last year in whatever trades. And so with roofing, they've got a very good opportunity, because we're still early, that by having kids participate, that they're going to have people come back, even if it's on the state level, saying, hey, we won a medal at state, and these things is still a prestigious thing for the school to advertise to. So this is just another way to help for them to get excited and want to participate, and give a little back to the school right away. Is like, oh yeah, look, I'm going to take some of your kids, and we're going to go up and we're going to medal at nationals, and you guys get to brag about it.
Yeah, when I was
yeah,
talking about being on the board of the advisory board for CTE, that's where I got to meet. They sometimes school districts have a dedicated person on staff to help kids get to Skills USA. And so if that person knows that there's a roofing competition, then that person, he or she will help find those students. Uh, So we're attacking from all different flanks here, the teachers, parents, and administrators, trying to get kids trying to get kids into the program of Skills USA, and then understanding roofing as a career on the whole.
yeah, absolutely. Rebecca, speak a little bit to these relationships, um, as we're able to build them. How helpful is it for NRCA to have these types of relationships to point our membership to whenever they need things like this?
I think extremely helpful. And as Sherri said about sort of attacking from all angles, if you really think about like, what is my workforce need? Like, what do I need from engaging with CTE? Do I want to expose young people? Do I need workers very quickly? Do I want somebody with a little bit of training or a lot of training? There are multiple ways to reach the CTE system, and they're all sort of set up for different parts of that. So you can be looking at K-12 and vocational schools. You can be looking at adult education. You can be looking at community and technical colleges. And you can also even be looking at correctional education's career training programs. And all of those can sort of serve different parts of your workforce need, and we can build a talent supply chain based on what companies need first.
Yeah, that's interesting. A talent supply chain. I like thinking about it like that. Okay, so um, kind of putting a bow on this to give an example for anyone that's listening, Tim or Sherri, do you have examples of how partnering with these schools has impacted your company? Is there something specific that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, I got quite a few. um, the first year working with a trade school in Tampa, we had a project where we needed some just labor really quick to get on a military base and to help roll form. I've talked about this before, but and within 2 days, I had 10 people names. I had them turned in. I had them badged, and the next week they were on site helping us roll form all these really long panels that we just needed bodies for. And then from that was able to hire someone right away. And then that same school, the competitors that went, one of the students got done, went to nationals, took silver at nationals, came back and got done with school, wanted a job, and he's working for Baker Roofing down there. And this was 2.5 years ago. My college student from last year that competed, he works for me now. He's worked for us not quite a year, doing all of our shop drawings and submittals. Very smart guy. And he told me right away at the first, he felt bad about trying to compete because he said he wasn't going to come work for me because he wanted to work for a general contractor. And then he's working for us. So, because I mean, I think the whole influence just helped and opened his eyes that there is more out there than just, throwing on some shingles or slapping some material on. My college student that just competed, we're getting ready to hire him. One of my high school kids that competed at state, he just texted me the other day asking if I've got work available for him. So I mean, it just builds that like you're saying, the pipeline of people. Like the high schools are kind of the longer term picture because some of these kids aren't able to work yet, but you're planting that seed and you're mentoring and you're making that so it seems like a viable option. The trade schools are there where you can hire these guys right away, and so it becomes it's just something that you keep working and it just builds and slowly turns into something that you can tap into pretty consistently.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm going to attack success from a different angle, both at the 35,000-foot angle of just uplifting roofing in general. If these kids compete, even if they don't go into roofing, they're going to know more about roofing and they're going to understand. So if they do go work for a general contractor, they're going to understand and be able to speak roofing right to the roofer. So it's always good to have better education, better educated people coming into the system. The second piece that's a big success for us that we're seeing, that I had guys go through the pro certification process and they're pro certified in thermoplastics. They're the ones that are teaching. So we're building a bench of teachers. When their career is done, they could do this full time,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a sense of giving back right now, and they're so proud, and it has changed the way that they see themselves, and that they're saying that it's okay to go into roofing to the next generation. Yes, it's hard, but look at me, I've made a great career out of it. So there's different success coming for in our incumbent workforce of uplifting them by educating the next gen.
I think what Sherry said is so important and a huge benefit, that for this to succeed long term, contractors have to kind of change how they do things. And that right there, like we were able to send a guy down and he spent 2 weeks with these students teaching them how to do metal roofing. So this has nothing to do with Skills USA, but we were allowed that access and he absolutely loved it and they loved it. And he came back just so energized to be able to work with these kids, because these kids are great that are in these schools, to work with these kids and kind of restore some of their faith. And overall, that just translates to, on a macro level, that will spread. And so now all these students in that class have a positive outlook on what roofing is. This individual that works for me that we were able to allow to go train for a couple of weeks, came back full of energy and was like, man, maybe I should be a teacher. I was like, okay, time out. You're going to be a teacher here. And, and so you've got to get those people, but it opens that all those pathways. And that's what it's going to take for the long-term success of this to spread. And for the companies that can do that and will take those steps, just a huge opportunity ahead for what's available.
Yeah. That's so great. Is there anything surrounding this topic that I didn't ask that you want to make sure that we say, or did we kind of cover it?
I would just say that it does take work. This is not, it's not an easy button. So it's not like you can just say, okay, like the NRCA has done a ton of work and put all these pieces into place, but it takes that much more work from the contractor. I just did a presentation here at FRSA, and that's one of the things to ask, like, what do I have to do? And the truth is, it takes probably about 40 to 70 hours of your time. This is prepping for like SkillsUSA or whatever, or just working with a school. It's going to cost you anywhere from $500 to $5,000 of investment in helping them get tools and equipment and those types of things. And so it does take time, and you have to be patient, because it's not like you show up and then you have 5 kids that are just waiting, that are awesome, that want to work for you. I mean, if you can get 1 to 2 kids every year, then you're doing great. So it is a long-term play, but it does take work. And the reason why we're in this predicament is because roofing is a lot of work. So if there's one thing we shouldn't be afraid of, is work. And so just if you've got to put in the work. It's not just going to come to you. You don't just reach out to school and they just, students just start knocking on your door. You're going to get out what you put in, and it does take effort.
Yeah. And there's so many ways that you can get involved. And one of the easier lifts, we'll say, is just being a guest speaker. And that doesn't take a lot of time, but you can go in there with some PowerPoints, and you can show the roofs, and you can show the drones going up, or you can show videos, or whatever it is. It may be a 20-minute, 30-minute presentation to a middle schooler, but they're going to remember that. And so the likelihood of them choosing to do more roofing later in high school and beyond, you planted that seed early. And that's an easy lift for contractors who get, this is daunting. Skills USA can be daunting. So do what you can with what you have. And anytime that you can get in front of kids, take it. And schools are always looking for just a guest speaker, or a mentorship, which is a little more extensive. But I say, any way we can proclaim the gospel of roofing, take it.
I would also say that sometimes it's not so intuitive how to strike up a conversation with a school. Some school administrators speak very different language than the language of industry. And sometimes you might be thinking like, oh, there's all these different types of education. Which one do I need to talk to? There's everything around me. That's one of the reasons that I'm here. If you want to talk through your specific situation, or to kind of lay out what the school might be asking from you and whether or not it's a good fit, I love to talk to people about that, and I'm happy to help, so we can work with members to find the education type that might be the best fit for how much time they have available and what their workforce need is.
Absolutely. Yes, if you are a part of NRCA, please know that you're not alone in any of these endeavors. You have people on your team that you can talk to, and people that have gone through this, so you don't have to go this alone, and you can ask all the questions that you need to. We hope that today's episode taught you a little bit more about career and technical education, if you didn't know, and also showed you ways that you can be involved in that, in helping the future of our industry. I'm so thankful to Tim and Sherri and Rebecca for sharing their perspectives today. Thank you guys so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
y'all.
Crystal.
This podcast is produced by Told You So Media.
Told you so!